Daddle deedle dee deedle dee dee. Da-dum daddle dee deedle dee dee. Da-dum bum ba-dum bum bum ba-dum. Da-dum da-da dee dee do do dum.
The Temple of Glory is kind of a Baroque variety show. All singing, all dancing, choral music, one of the largest orchestras that you could amass. So there's a constant change of tempo, of mood, of color, of character. It's the perfect family opera.
We're doing what amounts to a period staging, using period instruments, beautiful period costumes, but also the whole of Zellerbach has been transformed into a Baroque theatre. And so this gives people an idea when they walk through the doors of Zellerbach that the concrete will disappear and they will see effectively the Paris Opera. This opera was done in November 1745, and they got the two most famous people in France in the arts, Jean-Philippe Rameau, the composer, and Voltaire, to write the libretto and the music. They got the entire best company of singers and dancers from the Paris Opera, and they did it in the stables in Versailles. The story, in a nutshell, is who will get into the Temple of Glory. We begin with a prologue which consists of Envy, who of course would like to get in, but he doesn't, because he's just too mean and green.
The next try is the Assyrian god of war, Belus. He does a lot of saber rattling, and then he sees the temple and he wants to get in. And once again, you can't get into the temple for being bloodthirsty.
Bacchus is the god of wine and good times.
He would like to have his conquered kingdom essentially be sort of Miami Beach with tunes.
He tries to get into the Temple of Glory and they say, no, you're too much of a party animal. And he says, that's okay, because I like to party. I don't care if I don't get into the Temple of Glory.
The only person who gets into the Temple of Glory is Trajan, or Trajan. Trajan gets in because he has become forgiving and he has pardoned his conquered nations. Glory is so overwhelmed with all of this that she turns her own temple into a temple of happiness for the whole world, all ages, all sexes, and all classes.
In the end, they just celebrate the people. They have the children of the future appear. It's crazy stuff that you don't ordinarily see in a Baroque opera.
And so the lesson is for Louis XV. You've won a battle, but don't be bloodthirsty. Don't just have endless parties to celebrate your victory, and be magnanimous to your enemies.
A lot of the story is told in the dance music because there are 30 arias and there are about 30 ballet numbers. And you can't see them as like two separate duties. They really have to be together.
They loved their ballet, they loved their dancers, and the Paris dancers were of course the most famous in the world.
It's a challenge because there is no dance score that corresponds with the music score. The only dance notes are the ones that are written into the manuscript. But there's also a notation system that was developed at the end of the 17th century that all of Europe used that recorded just as much about the dance as the music notation records about the music. I wanted to have a trio with two men and a priestess, so I took this dance for two men and they're moving symmetrically this way. You know that they're doing like a pas de bourrée with the leap, a tortillé, going into an emboîté, then a little contretemps. And if you're in ballet, you know these terms, you know, going into a chassé at the end. There's the Dance of the Muses. And I was able to contemplate their idea of the harmony of the spheres and the dance of the planets. You see them doing symmetrically geometrical patterns. And in addition to having the audience see it from eye level, I also wanted to emphasize the idea that, you know, the patterns that are danced on Earth are echoing the movement of the planets. This is their idea. And their idea was that it created a channel for goodness to come to the Earth. It's that kind of thing that I like to do with stage direction, is to bring in concepts, aesthetic concepts and philosophical concepts about life that are clearly explained in the opera if you look at them, and then to visualize that.
Rameau was a professor of harmony, and so he really knew how to make very rich sounds. They're as elaborate as Bach, and much more elaborate than somebody like Handel. He has a lot of what are called appoggiaturas, what the 18th century English called drags, that nudge and tug against the main line. It's very ornate. It's the ultimate fancy music. They loved orchestral color. There's piccolos, there are bagpipes called musettes, there are lots of oboes, and because it's the king's orchestra, essentially, he has lots of everything. What a wonderful manuscript. Isn't this extraordinary? I mean, part of it is just the sheer fantastic skill of the copyist. I can see no bits where the paper is scratched. It's the manuscript of the first version, the one that was actually done in front of the king. It's the one that actually preserves, as close as we can get, what was originally done.
Chorus has been a part of French theater music ever since the beginning of the Baroque period with Lully. This is the wordiest libretto for a chorus I have ever seen, because Voltaire was very much in love with his own text.
For this repertoire, it's important to have the right feeling of the language and the style. And as some parts are really difficult to sing, it was maybe important to have singers very specialist of this music.
Gloire turns into Gloire. The R's are being rolled like Italians. It's a whole new experience for all of us.
This hall where we're doing the performance here at Zellebach is the largest space I've designed for. It creates challenges, obviously, with as many scene changes as we go through. This is the first time we've done a lot of rear screen digital projection. It gives us a lot more flexibility than we've had in the past.
Non, ce qui est intéressant, c'est aussi de s'inspirer des peintres de l'époque, évidemment. Des peintres comme Nattier, on citait tout à l'heure Nattier, qui est un des grands portraitistes de cette époque, qui avait une lumière légèrement bleutée, qui était absolument magnifique. Et voilà, et c'est évidemment ça c'est là qu'il faut trouver les sources d'inspiration.
My favorite scene is the transition from the Temple of Glory to the burning city, because we start off with a deep blue background wash, and then as the scene changes, you suddenly get the prospect of the entire temple. And with that, we bring in a digital projection where the city in the background is actually on fire.
Mais le plus souvent, les spectacles duraient, les actes duraient la durée d'une bougie. Voilà, c'était calculé comme ça. Pour ça, maintenant, évidemment, c'est intéressant de pouvoir donner une idée de ce qu'était la lumière à cette époque, et comme, surtout dans ce domaine où la technique a tellement évolué, toutes les situations, on peut maintenant utiliser des moyens extraordinaires dans l'éclairage.
When I hear an opera, I'm immediately seeing pictures. I draw a picture. Once I have it as a picture, the next step is to turn it into an actual three-dimensional object. The Baroque period, in this particular opera, 1745, it was very important that I know everything from what I call the skin out. Women's underwear is incredibly important. If you don't get the underwear right, you might as well just go home. So I've learned about corsetry and paniers. This is called a boat panier. You can tell because it looks like a boat. It's worn on the waist of a dancer or a singer in a Baroque opera. It holds out the skirt in the correct silhouette that is needed to say, yes, I am a costume from the Baroque era. He is dressed very much the way Louis XV would have been dressed back in 1745. It's the correct kind of coat and breastplate, and everything he's wearing is from famous paintings from this particular king. Creating an ostrich, our dancer is literally inside a ball of feathers. She uses her arm to hold the long neck of the ostrich, and she has a string she pulls that makes the mouth go open and close. It's really adorable. When I see the curtain go up on opening night, it fills me with a kind of joy that there's no other joy. Those are my children up on stage.
Voltaire was trying to get a message across to Louis. Every rank, every age, every sex deserves happiness.
I think that this opera has a modern resonance as to who makes a good ruler. He must govern everybody wisely and well, and modestly.